been dancing with. Even now, come home to me, my love. I'm already gone. Step by step, win by win. He's the devil I've been dealing with. Even now, find your way home to me. I'm already stolen. Dreams of mayhem and betrayal. Why you covered all my misadventure? He's already called my name. I'm already fading away. Step by step, sin by sin, he's the devil I've been dancing with. Even now, come home to me, my love. I'm already gone. Step by step, win by win, he's the devil I've been dealing with. Even now, find your way.
And go to the Artist Spotlight page or tab, whatever you want to call it, and you can read her bio. If you click on her photograph, by the way, she's a very gorgeous woman, I can tell you that. If you click on her photograph, it will take you to her preferred site. But it is not only my pleasure, but American Veterans Radio's pleasure to have with me live Friday morning, where she is, from Melbourne, Australia area, Janis Malicious. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us on the show.
Good morning or good evening, afternoon, wherever anyone is. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, it is our pleasure. Yeah, we go out to all 40 time zones around the world, which is great. So
Wow.
I quit trying to keep up with the time.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Well, what isn't confusing is how talented you are. I mean, you got to say, I was just listening to that song, and I heard the strings. I like that. I've always been one of those. So you have a lot of strings in your songs?
Yeah, in some of them, in The Boy and His Beast, I think we had cello and violin. I think a few of the more acoustic songs we had some strings arrangements. But the Already Stolen was a bit of a newer song. I only did it last year. I think, I actually didn't do the string arrangement for that one. It was done by a producer I worked with in New York.
Yeah, actually, I was reading about where you were in New York. But we'll get around to that.
Yeah.
I got to tell all of our listeners, you were actually voted #1 in Australia by Reverb Nation for singer-songwriter. How cool is that?
Yeah, it was really cool. I think I stayed there in the charts for about a week as #1. It was really exciting.
So how do they go about doing that?
It's just, I think the platform is based just on how many people interact with the page and play your songs and leave comments and kind of start following you. And yeah, I guess it's just how much people are enjoying what you're creating and putting out there.
Now I always ask this when I do an interview. I always ask,
Yeah.
and we will get around to, because you, like many others, and myself included, we have full-time jobs besides the
yeah.
passion. So, but what led up to the point where you wanted to do this?
I've always wanted to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, my best friend was telling me the other day, she said, "Oh, do you remember when we were in first grade and you said we had to do an assignment about, I think we had to draw a picture about what we wanted to be when we grew up." And I said to her, "I'm going to be a rock star." And I mean, wow. I don't remember this happening, but she tells me that.
So you're about the age of what, 7, 8 at this?
I think it would be about 6, 5
wow.
or 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've always written music. I've always performed, whether it's with singing or dancing or acting. And yeah, I've always loved it.
Well, you mentioned acting, and I was reading where you do some of that as well. Here again, how do you find time to do all this?
People ask me this a lot of the time, actually. The biggest trick, I actually don't own a television, and I haven't had a television for about 10 years.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when I grew up out in the countryside.
So did I, yeah.
Yeah, it was off the main grid, so we actually didn't have connection to main electricity. we had solar power and a generator. So if you actually wanted to watch the television, my mum didn't think that wasting electricity on television was a legitimate thing to do. So we had to wait for special occasions.
You know, it's ironic because we would call your mom and dad here in the States if they were doing that a hippie during that time, right? You know,
I think my mum probably would fit that description.
And so many people are going back to that lifestyle here in the States. At least they're looking for these. They're downsizing, but that has nothing to do with anything else. You know, and you and I spoke yesterday, and I told everybody we had, and we were going to not broaches and broaches, but I was reading a story, and I told you this. So this is no heads up to everybody out there that, but I'm going to read this. There was an interview going on, and I was reading this interview back when you were part of LeVay, right?
Yeah.
And excuse that, I don't know what that was, but anyway, I was reading this, and it says, first of all, Janis is she is the centric one who often has no idea what anyone is talking about. Do you remember that line?
No, I don't.
Yeah, and I don't even know who this is, but it was talking about you and the LeVay, the band. And I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is actually said, and whoever answered that, I believe it was a gentleman. So, but anyway, so yeah, you're the eccentric one who often has no idea what anybody else is talking about.
I think perhaps it's probably more that nobody has any idea what I'm talking about because I'm usually making obscure sci-fi references or something.
So I guess what my point is with your music, and I find it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's very deep.
Oh, thanks.
Well, and the reason I say that is because I'm kind of being accused of being kind of that way all my life. You know, they say you overthink things, and you know, and even my wife to this day tells me, Jim, it's just this way. Get over it. So maybe I overthink it, but I am telling you, you know, like The Boy and His Beast, and I have seen your video. That's pretty deep.
Oh, thank you.
That is very deep. So so you said you've been writing since you were a child.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that led into where this is going, but where do these stories come from?
They come from so many different places. I think there's an entire world inside my head that nobody else can see.
Ooh, I agree.
Or hear or feel or touch. And I tend to go off on a lot of little journeys inside my own head, which sometimes result in songs. Otherwise, sometimes, for me, a lot of the time I find writing is the way I process emotions and the way I process things that I find difficult or sad or happy even.
Therapeutic, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a journal of emotional things in a way.
Well, I understand. Back in 2014, you were doing your writing, your recording, and then you were discovered by Alex. Is it Hooten? Is how he pronounces? He discovered you on YouTube. So many artists are being discovered in that format. But tell us that story.
Well, to be honest, we joke about this sometimes, about how we feel like we shouldn't talk about it because it feels a bit like we met on an online dating site or something.
Right,
because you met online and you just kind of, he sent out he said, I can't remember the tweet. He sent out something saying, "I'm feeling generous today. I want to listen to some music. Send me a link." And I sent him a link to the YouTube video, and I thought, loads of people sent him links. He's a very talented producer and musician, and within about 5 minutes, he got back to me. So, yeah, he just said, I think he said that it was because I headed it off with a polite message to start with, which apparently helped. So it just went from there. And we started working together. First, I sent him some tracks of songs that I hadn't recorded yet, or they were just kind of in what I call the bedroom recording phase,
sure.
Which is just kind of quite poorly recorded, singing at my laptop while sitting on my bed, just the basic structure of a few songs. And he chose two, and we kind of tossed them backwards and forth over the internet to each other in terms of what we were going to do with production and what we were going to do with different sounds and what kind of feel we wanted for them. And then I went over to New York to do the vocals about a year ago.
You actually recorded more than one song in New York, didn't you, right?
Yeah.
I
did. I recorded another one called Grey Day, and it got picked up. Oh, that's its working title anyway. It got picked up by a publisher who is pitching it to a major label for one of their already established artists. So I'm not allowed to release that at the moment.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and believe me, you're not the only one I've ever done this before. Because a lot of people, especially those that are independent artists, and let me set this up so I'm not trying to put you on the spot that much. But
No, it's fine.
You have an independent artist, in the beginning, that's all they want to do is just let their music be heard. And when you get into your social media, and we can go there in here a little bit, and just somebody alerted me, wow, this is, but then all of a sudden you want to go, or some people, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. Some people, I want a recording label to pick me up. Then I hear stories that people who have gone that route, they want to come back independent because they lose control. What do you think? Do you want a recording, or do you want to be able to keep control?
That's a really, really tough question, actually. So, and I'm glad you asked it, because maybe it'll help me sort it out in my own head, what I really feel about it. I don't know. There's a lot of pros and cons to both, I think. I think that I would be happy if I just continued on doing my own stuff and having kind of a smaller, loyal fan base that really enjoy seeing me, even in a small, intimate venue. Mm-hmm. And I get to perform what I want to sing and what I want to play and write the songs in the way that I want to write them. But I also really enjoy songwriting as a craft. So I do have there's another way that I write songs, which is a lot more, I guess, crafted and using songwriting, I guess, all of the tips that great songwriters recommend, and trying to write things that are more commercially viable as well. And I would love if other artists wanted to sing some of that material, or if anyone was interested in that. I think, I don't know how I would go being signed to a label. To be honest, I don't really know exactly what it would involve. I think I like control over my own work.
Sure.
I like control over my own production and what I sing about. But I also I find advertising and self-promotion pretty difficult as an independent artist, where I think the labels have got that covered. They've got access to all of the kind of commercial big radio stations and a lot of the advertising and marketing side of things. They've got it covered. Whereas independent artists, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, probably because I grew up in the middle of the countryside with no electricity.
With hippie parents, right?
Yeah. So I tend not to spend a lot of time on social media. So I'm not a fan of selfies either, so I don't really suit Instagram. So I guess, that's one thing.
Well, you kind of hit a couple of things there. But first of all, with the social media aspect of it, and I'm kind of with you on this. When the radio station started, I was kind of just me and, my own little circles. People knew who I was. But when the radio station came around, we started really, you got to promote. You got to do this. And I'm like you. I found that a little disconcerting, if you will, because that wasn't in my nature to do that. But it is what you have to do. Yeah,
that's what I've been realizing the last couple of months. Probably over the last 3 or 4 months, really. And I have noticed a difference since I've started to do it. I guess part of it, and I know a lot of artists feel this, it probably comes from an insecurity in some form, is that
sure.
you assume that people probably don't want to know what you're up to or what you're doing, and why would you be interesting enough that they would want to follow what you're doing?
Yeah, because time is limited and they're going to hang out with you. Why, right? So
yeah.
And I've mentioned this many, many, many times. I do a lot of public speaking and things for Veterans Affairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm very uncomfortable doing that. And a lot of people are like, really? And I say, I'm an introverted person. People that know me say, well, no, you're not. Yes, I am. by nature, I'm very comfortable behind the mic where nobody can see me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's the gregarious introvert.
Yes. Yeah. And so I have no issue with this, but when I get, and I don't have I go out and I put myself in those situations, and I really love doing that, but I can't say that it's the most comfortable thing that I've ever done.
Yeah, I don't know. I love performing, and I don't mind public speaking. I don't mind being in front of a lot of people. I just, I don't know.
But you don't have any problem being by
difficult.
yourself either, right?
Sorry?
You don't have any problem being by yourself. You're comfortable being by yourself.
No, I love being by myself.
So do I. I mean, I'm like that. Now, you were talking.
I barely notice I'm by myself. I think I'm off in my little world inside my head writing music.
That's why I say I'm one of those. I amuse myself, and I always tell them.
Yeah.
My wife just looked at me and said, "What are you laughing?" I said, "I'm just thinking. Don't worry about it." You were mentioning, getting back to what I asked you. I don't want to get too far away from that, and that is the label thing. And you keep bringing up, you're very comfortable about someone else picking up your music, you being the writer, being the composer. So would you be very, very happy just having someone else do your work?
Yes and no. There's the songs that I write for myself. I feel a bit protective about those. I feel like it's a story that I'm telling that
only you know.
I think
right?
I feel like nobody else would be telling it the way I wanted it to be told.
No, I agree.
But there's other songs which I write with, I don't know if I write for the song itself. I write a little less selfishly. And I think if somebody wanted one of those songs, then yeah, I'd be really honored, I guess, if somebody liked them enough to want to sing them and perform them.
All right, I'm gonna give it up to everybody, and ladies and gentlemen, besides being a gorgeous young lady, besides being a talent that to be reckoned with around the world, and you've heard her, you're going to continue to hear her on American Veterans Radio. I'm going to quote this article again, and here again, I do not know who did this interview, so I'm just giving that up. That's my disclaimer on this one. But they answer. He says, "We're all living double lives. We're like a Marvel comic band." And it says, Janis, Alex, Liz, Yanni are all doctors. You are a doctor.
Yeah, I am.
Wow. You know, and people probably, and I was telling here again, I don't keep referring to my wife, but I was telling her, I was really kind of spitting, I was talking yesterday, and I said, isn't that so cool that you can, have such a responsibility, and yet you just say, hey, this is what makes me happy. And that's why I kept referring to how do you find time to do this?
Yeah, well, I guess the last couple of years were really difficult, my internship and my residency years. There was a lot of night shift, there's a lot of long hours, there was a lot of just emotional exhaustion and inability to do anything other than just kind of slump over and sleep every time you had a spare few seconds. But I guess also the whole time the other part of my brain was ticking over trying to process it all and writing it as songs. So I guess in a way, songwriting is how I process. I don't think I could do one without the other. I think I draw a lot of, I don't specifically write stories about things that happen to me as a doctor, but I find kind of the emotional depths and reserves and experiences that do end up being worked into songwriting from that side of my life. But I don't think I'd be a good doctor if I couldn't process things and completely enjoy another part of my life, because otherwise I think I would get too sucked into it all.
Sure.
And too connected just kind of with all of you see a lot of bad stuff.
Right.
And you see a lot of heavy emotional stuff that, I mean, yeah, it can be quite confronting. And so I guess music really is my escape.
So do you ever find yourself, when you're being the doctor part of it, that you're uplifted or you're singing in your head when things, because we all have good and bad times, right? With whatever job or whatever life we live. You ever find yourself like, just humming or singing while you're out doing it?
Yeah, sometimes, particularly if I'm doing like a nursing home visit and there's lots of elderly patients there, and you just kind of, I don't know, if they're having a little sing along, you might join in, or
Cool.
you know, not very seriously. But I often sing to my pediatric patients too, because we discovered when I went to a children's hospital, we discovered that you can get a kid to do almost anything if you sing them songs from Frozen.
Well, and it doesn't hurt if you have a voice like yours, right?
Oh no! Oh, I think mostly we just kind of popped on the YouTube video and just kind of put it in front of their face and kind of tried to distract them with the words.
All right, tell all of our listeners, how can they go out and buy your music? How do they find Janis Malicious?
Oh, okay, great. So I have a Facebook site, which is just Janis Malicious. And similarly at Twitter, on Twitter, it'll be at Janis Malicious. I have a Bandcamp site where you can buy. Actually, do you know what? I'm just going to Google my own Bandcamp.
You sound like me.
Name, because I can't remember. I only made the site a few days ago. I had a few things on iTunes, but I took them down because I wasn't sure who I wanted to be distributed through anymore. And I've been offered a few distribution offers through specific people that I'm just kind of looking at who's the best to go with and who might offer some promotion at the same time. Great. So it's just janismalicious.bandcamp.com. And that's got the stuff that I did when I was LaFay and the single of The Boy and His Beast. But if you want to have a listen to Already Stolen, which is one of the new ones, you can pop along to Reverb Nation. And I usually just type in Reverb Nation and then my own name and the site pops up. But I think if you want to find it specifically, it's just www.reverbnation.com/Janis Malicious, all one word.
Well, I looked you up this morning. You're still number 2 in Australia.
Oh, I actually think it's number 2 in Melbourne now. I think I've fallen to about number 10 in Australia.
Well, but that's still going to be. That's just going to be like, you know, wow. Because Australia is big as the United States. It's like, I'm what? You know, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We're very spread out though, and I think that's an issue that a lot of indie artists face in Australia. I've had a lot of people comment that it's very difficult to tour because you spend so much money just in petrol and accommodation and traveling just to get from one venue to another, that by the time you get there, most people come back from, like, unless you're a really, really big band, they come back
with less money than what it costs them
heavily
to
in debt from tour. Yeah.
We were going to leave with your song, The Boy and His Beast, and you just mentioned that, but kind of tell us, first of all, what went in, what was going on. But when I watch that, I find that very deep. That's a very deep video, in my opinion. And I encourage everybody to go out and watch it. I really do. But tell me what went into that and what was meant by that and how it all come to be. And believe me, there's no time. Just tell us.
Oh yeah. I'll try and remember. So I wrote that song. I think I wrote it in about 40 minutes a few years ago. And I was having a conversation with a very good friend from med school, and he was saying, actually I think we were still in med school at the time, he had moved out of home and he hadn't had a girlfriend for years and years and years, and he moved to a country hospital to do some rotations, and he was finding it really overwhelming that all of the female medical students that he was staying with in the accommodation there were kind of giving him a lot of attention and were kind of all vying for his attentions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he just said, I never really thought I was, that anyone would be that interested. So I've always kept to myself, but now I just don't really know what to do. I've got all these girls after me. And he was joking about it. He was like, maybe I'll just turn into this animal. And I was joking about it, and I said, I'll write you a song called The Boy and His Beast. And that was actually how I found the title.
Wow.
But that's not actually what the song ended up being about. But yeah, that was, I just thought, that sounded like a neat idea. And it kind of it gave me a lot of things to think about, just thinking about that title.
Well, and that just goes to, and I've been talking about this for years, whether I I've written poetry, I've written books, I've done all those as well, but it's just like, it's those, just the things, the real things in life that capture just what you just said, the boy and the beast, just from a true story.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think when you write like that, I think when you sing like that, I think when you're genuine like that, and you let life experiences dictate how you project yourself on the world, I think the world's better. I just really do. And
yeah, well, thank you. I think, it's a bit of honesty, I guess.
Sure.
And it's a bit,
Go ahead,
it's
I'm
less
sorry.
cliched, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, once again, I want to just tell you, thank you for joining us. Like I said, I know it's very early.
Not a problem.
Very early.
Yeah, I was really worried that I would miss I would miss my alarm. So I woke up about every 20 minutes from 5 a.m. just thinking, oh no, has it started yet? Have I missed it?
So you go through med school, you go through and you're worried about simple little radio thing. That's too cool.
Everyone's overqualified these days.
I concur. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, go out, please, to our website, www.avradio.org. Go to the Artist Spotlight of the Week page. You will find Janis Malicious, our Artist Spotlight, the lovely one you've been listening to for the last 20 minutes. Buy her music. Let her know you heard her on American Veterans Radio, WAVR 97.0. I'm going to allow you to wrap us up, Janis, and we're going to be playing The Boy and His Beast. What would you like to say in finale?
I would just like to say thank you so much for having me. I thought the thing I was looking forward to most in December was the Star Wars release, but I think it turned out to be this interview.